Hi everyone, Evan here from the Equipment Guide, here for our updated review of the best inflatable kayaks in the UK. In this review, we'll be looking at the best inflatable kayaks in the UK for the UK paddler. We'll actually be giving you the advice we'd give to our best mate if they were to be looking to buy an inflatable kayak in 2026. We'll walk you through what you get at different price points and explain how we've scored and tested each kayak. And just like before, we'll be including foldable kayaks where possible, because at the end of the day, what people searching for an inflatable kayak actually want is something portable and easy to use. When talking to friends and family about inflatable kayaks, here are questions that always come up. Number one, will it puncture on me? Now, cheaper models can, but a lot of models these days use a heavy-duty PVC, similar to the kind used on rescue boats. As we know, they can take a beating. So the second question I often get comes down to performance. How are these models stacking up? Well, some of the better inflatables out there will outperform hardshell kayaks. They'll do this in both speed and tracking, but some of the cheaper models will be outperformed, and this comes down to cheaper materials used and differences in hull design. Does hull shape affect performance? When it comes to hull design, there's a reason most hardshell models have that curved hull design, and that's because it balances stability and cut through. Historically, what we've been able to get from an inflatable kayak has been kind of flat. Earlier I-beam hulls, which were a bit spongy, but when drop stitch became popular, drop stitch floors with side tubes, which definitely does still have its place in terms of stability. Other innovations have been a full drop stitch bathtub style hull, which is now a classic design, and then a V-shaped hull, which is fast but also really unstable. So on both these hulls, they're unstable because once they're upset, the kayak naturally wants to continue tipping to the next flat surface, so they have quite low secondary stability. Now we're starting to see some new models which are actually able to do a curved hull in a drop stitch inflatable. That's really something to look out for if you want a model that's as close as possible to a hard shell kayak. Also consider how a kayak's going to cut through water. You need some kind of rigid plastic molding at the bow so it can slice the water as it moves forward. Without that, it's not going to be as efficient to paddle, and it also won't track as well in a straight line. So materials typically come in three different categories: single layered vinyl, fabric covered vinyl, and thick PVC or rubber. Single layer vinyl is lighter weight and cheaper to manufacture, but also more prone to puncture and can't hold a lot of pressure or structure in the water. Fabric covered vinyl is more durable, but the disadvantage with fabric is it takes much longer to dry. In the UK, it can take a long time to be dry enough to store in a flat or shed. High denier reinforced PVC with a mesh weave is also extremely durable and quick to dry, which makes it ideal for the UK, as you can simply wipe it down before storing. There have also been some advances that have reduced the thickness of drop stitch down to 5 cm, so it's just as strong, but it's lighter weight and allows for more spacious cockpits. But more on that when we get to our construction section. So another question I often get, well, what about the pumps and paddles? Honestly, no bundled pumps and paddles are that good. I'd recommend getting them separately and going for some quality ones. So the final question I often get, is setup a hassle? Well, it depends. Some models like this one have multiple valves to inflate, but most drop stitch models only have a couple. We'll talk more about that when we get to a separate packed down part of the video. So we tested and scored all kayaks across 5 categories: portability, performance, setup and pack down, comfort and construction. For full details, visit the website theequipmentguide.co.uk, and for side-by-side comparisons, we'll be doing those throughout the video, so feel free to pause. So performance looks at how the kayaks paddle, maneuver and track. This is where the biggest differences show. So the Razor Kayak's Edge Pro was a clear standout because of its rigid, smooth materials and curved hull shape that helps track straight while also staying super maneuverable. It's perfect for both smooth canal paddling, windy reservoirs and tidal estuaries. The Advanced Elements Expedition Elite is also excellent and built for long distance touring. In general, we found higher end kayaks cut much better through the water and are much more efficient to paddle. On the budget end, models like the Intex Challenger and the Excursion Pro K1 are much slower, harder to track and better suited to beginners who just want to mess around on calm water. So construction is next, and that looks at materials, durability and build quality. So some of the cheaper kayaks are designed more like a dinghy, or use lower grade materials that could just puncture. Instead, work with a high-density PVC, ideally some form of drop stitch, which is internal threads holding together the outside layers of fabric. So when it's inflated, the internal pressure creates a really hard surface. The Expedition Elite Gumotex Rush use this on the floor, the Aqua Marina Tomahawk, Edge Pro 1, and Blue Wave Glider on the full hull. Up next is portability. So that's weight, how easy it is to carry, and packed up size. So this is where the ultralights come in. The Oro is incredibly easy to carry and pack. The Razor R1 Ultra is also a great portable option. Overall, when you're comparing the big brands in our ratings, they were only a few points apart. So you can see in our graph, in terms of portability, not a huge difference between the top brands. And just a note here on this category, some kayaks like the Intex Challenger are able to get to a smaller size and weight because they use a lower grade of PVC, which is more susceptible to puncture. We factor this into our overall portability score to ensure ratings accurately reflect the quality of the kayak. So up next is setup and pack down. That's inflation time, storage, and drying. So you're ideally looking for something with fewer inflation points and an outer layer of toughened PVC. This is a major drawback for us with many of the advanced elements kayaks. They're excellent in the water, but slower to set up because they generally have more inflation points. They take longer to dry because of the fabric covers, but as we've already covered, this is often a downside with our typical changing UK weather. There are plenty of others out there that have 3 valves and a toughened PVC outer, which we found so far to be the quickest to set up and pack down. Foldables don't need pumping at all, but you do have to fold them out, which takes practice and sometimes a bit of strength. Up next is comfort, and in this category we look at space, seating, and overall paddling experience. The Edge Pro and the Expedition Elite both score highly here, with excellent seating and paddling ergonomics. Shout out as well to the Aqua Blackfoot and the Gumotex Rush, we'd happily sit in these for hours. At the other end, the Intex Challenger felt cramped with limited cockpit space. Both the Decathlon kayak seats were either too low and hard, or too wrapped around to be comfortable, and the hard surface of the Tech was less comfortable than the inflatable models. Alright, so the all-important budget question. As always, there are some market outliers, but at the time of recording, we've been able to break down into 3 categories. So under £500. Honestly, in this category, you're going to struggle a bit. You're going to find kayaks that are made with poorly made materials and poorly crafted. You might get away with going on small calm lakes. Once you start to upgrade to estuaries and rush rivers, you're going to struggle. I'd recommend, if you can, spending a little bit more money. So up next is the £500 to £700 range. In this category, you're going to get things that might be a little bit slower on the water, a little bit bulkier, but overall, they do very well. Our best value is in this category. And then you've got this over £700 range. These are going to be the best ones to paddle, best ones to use, and they're going to last you a long time. If you've got the money to spend, you won't regret it. And so overall, this is where we landed. In this graph, you can see the blue lines represent the overall rating of the kayaks out of 100. And the orange dots represent the price point of each kayak, indicated on the right. The Razor Kayaks Edge Pro 1 was a clear standout for us. It's just easy to set up and pack down, really fast and comfortable. The main thing is, it's just an absolute joy to paddle. Other notable mentions were the Advanced Elements Expedition Elite, which takes longer to set up but is great in the water. The Aqua Blackfoot, which is our pick for fishing. The Razor Kayaks R1 Ultra is our pick if you're on a budget, but it also ranks highly for its lighter weight and stability. Call-outs also go to the Gumotex Rush, which performs really nicely on the water. For more information, go to our website, theequipmentguide.co.uk, where you'll get a full breakdown and side-by-side comparisons. If you've enjoyed the video, please like, comment and subscribe, and tell us how you feel about kayaks in the comments.